What is going on YouTube? Welcome to a brand new video. I'm trying out a little bit of a different video format, so do let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm also trying to work on my thumbnail game a little bit, so yeah. But regardless, today's topic is going to be on potential opponents for Drew McIntyre as he begins his WWE Championship reign. Now, WrestleMania, the moment finally happened. Drew McIntyre claymored the hell out of Brock Lesnar and became WWE Champion. At long last, hopefully putting a permanent stop to Brock Lesnar being a part-time world champion. But you know, who knows, maybe it'll just go like last time and he'll win it back in a few months. Let's hope not. But I, among many other WWE fans, are very, very pleased about this. Drew McIntyre certainly deserves it. It's been a long time coming for him. It was a great story of him winning the Royal Rumble and making it all the way to WrestleMania, knocking Brock Lesnar off of the mountain. I mean, literally kicking him right off of it. And it was overall just a great moment. The match could have gone on a bit longer, but you know, it's a Brock Lesnar match. What are we going to complain about? And it would have been much better, of course, if the stadium was full of cheering fans, but what can we do about that situation? But regardless, I think Drew McIntyre needs to have a long reign with the World Championship and be a real fighting champion, something that we've really been lacking lately, whether it be like The Fiend, who doesn't really wrestle too much, or Goldberg or Brock Lesnar, you know, part-timing champions. We need a full-time champion who's there week in, week out, defending the title at every pay-per-view, having these big feuds that we all want to see, and I think Drew McIntyre is the perfect guy to do that at the top of Monday Night Raw. So I've scoured up and down the Raw roster and looked for some potential opponents for Drew McIntyre. I did stick with just the Raw roster. I didn't go over to SmackDown Live because I'm guessing they're going to wait a while to do the Superstar Shakeup since the last draft was kind of later in the year. And I did mostly focus on heels because Drew McIntyre is a babyface. It makes sense that he's going to feud mostly with heels, although there's a few surprises in there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this video. Now, the first potential feud I see happening for Drew McIntyre, and this is one that I honestly think WWE is going to go with very, very soon, is the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. Now, this is a matchup that we've seen plenty of times before, mostly around 2018, whenever Seth and The Shield were feuding with Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre. We saw all sorts of combinations and matchups between the two of them, tag team matches, one-on-one, all that sort of stuff, except this time the dynamic is going to be reversed. Drew McIntyre is the babyface where Seth Rollins is the heel. It's also going to be a little bit more important because it is for the World Championship rather than for the Intercontinental title picture, or I guess the Raw Tag Team Championships as well. Now, Seth is obviously one of the top heels on Raw, if not the top heel, so it only makes sense that he's going to eventually go up and face Drew McIntyre, probably sooner rather than later. Seth's whole Monday Night Messiah gimmick is pretty amazing. I love seeing him with AOP and Buddy Murphy. I think we get some really interesting dynamics in there where Drew McIntyre's got to, you know, beat the odds, the numbers game. We could see Drew McIntyre having to face AOP, having to face Buddy Murphy in the build-ups, or Drew McIntyre not even getting his hands on Seth Rollins until the pay-per-view, and then the two of them just having a banger match. They're two very talented wrestlers. I would very much enjoy seeing a heel Seth Rollins face off against our new face champion Drew McIntyre for 20 minutes. I'd love to see Buddy Murphy and Drew McIntyre have a banger main event on Monday Night Raw in the build-up. And overall, I just think this is a feud that is definitely going to happen for Drew McIntyre. It's a nice, easy feud. It pretty well writes itself. They've got history. You know, there's motives there. Seth obviously is the Monday Night Messiah. He's going to want to go after the World Championship. So I'm pretty sure the feud there just really writes itself. Now, on the topic of Seth Rollins, we can't forget his WrestleMania opponent and the man that beat him at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens. Now, logically, Kevin Owens probably should be in line before Seth Rollins because he did defeat him at WrestleMania, but I see this being a little bit less likely because Kevin Owens is also a babyface. So, you know, maybe this one isn't going to take place on a pay-per-view. Maybe this is just going to be a Raw main event some week, but Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre would be a pretty solid matchup. I feel like we've definitely seen it before, but I would very much like to see it again. They're two extremely talented wrestlers. Kevin Owens is just super underrated, but he's definitely making waves, and he's going to be one of Raw's top faces in the foreseeable future. But I think it really does make sense that he either gets the shot before Seth Rollins, or maybe they go for a triple threat scenario, Seth versus Drew versus Kevin Owens. I think that'd be very interesting, but I think he does deserve to get the shot before Seth because he did beat him at WrestleMania when he dove off the sign. But again, I just see Seth Rollins as a little bit more likely. Now, here's one that I don't think a lot of people are going to be picking right off the top of their heads, but upon thinking about it when I was looking through the entire Raw roster, it kind of just hit me, and that is the one and only Ricochet. Now, I know Ricochet is not exactly doing too well since losing to Brock Lesnar. He's kind of fallen down the card big time, which is really sad. Apparently, Vince McMahon just doesn't really see it in him anymore, but overall, I think that he'd be a perfect opponent for Drew McIntyre. First of all, again, these two do have history. We've seen them face off quite a few times. Second of all, it was in the Royal Rumble match that Ricochet low blow Brock Lesnar, allowing Drew McIntyre to actually eliminate Lesnar. So he could honestly say, you know, I'm the reason you eliminated Brock Lesnar in the Rumble. I couldn't beat him, but I've damn sure beaten you before, so I deserve a title match. And honestly, I'd be alright with that. Now, I really don't see this one happening because, one, Ricochet's just fallen down the card big time since losing to Brock Lesnar, and number two, it's again a face versus face dynamic that I just don't really see working too well. But at the same time, I think there is definitely a story there, and I would personally like to see Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Next up on my list is Randy Orton, simply since yet again, he is one of the top heels on Raw. He lost to Edge. I don't really think there's any reason for that feud to continue. There's plenty of other matches I would rather see Edge have than facing Randy Orton 3 or 4 more times. I was almost going to include Edge on this list, but I don't really see him and Drew McIntyre facing off. I just don't really want to see Edge taking a claymore anytime soon, and it's not a match that I really want to see. I'd rather see Edge face someone like AJ Styles, so I decided to include Randy Orton in this video. I think this one is probably going to happen in a few months, maybe later in his reign. I don't think he's going to be like the first person in line to face Drew McIntyre since he just had that big defeat to Edge, but you know, he's one of the top heels on Raw. The two of them do have history. They had a bit of a feud for a while, so I think it just goes without saying that this match is probably going to happen at some point, so that's why I decided to include Randy Orton on this list. Next up is a man that I just mentioned, AJ Styles. His future's kind of up in the air after the whole Boneyard match as to whether he's going to be written off television for a little bit or some sort of a character change, or if he's just going to come back and act like, you know, that match is in the past and it doesn't really matter because WWE seems to shy away from long-term booking. But regardless, AJ Styles is one of the top heels again on Monday Night Raw. You got that one versus all dynamic again with the OC and the numbers game against Drew McIntyre, and overall just AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers in the world. If you want to put someone in there who can have a meaningful title feud and have an amazing match, you put AJ Styles against literally anyone on the card. He can have a banger of a match. So I would honestly like to see a long feud between AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre. I feel like we've seen them face quite a few times, but never this big, and I feel like it'd be a solid championship feud, you know, at a smaller pay-per-view. You know, it's not like SummerSlam worthy, but you know, I could see this at like Money in the Bank or something like that. This is where we're sort of getting into the interesting territory with my last 3. And first up, I have Samoa Joe. Now, Samoa Joe is currently suspended, or he's just off TV. I'm not sure if the suspension is still going on. I think it is, but he hasn't really been on TV. The last time we saw him, he was teaming up with Kevin Owens and the Viking Raiders and that whole group there, Alistair Black, to take on Seth Rollins and his disciples. But I'd honestly be down to see a Samoa Joe versus Drew McIntyre feud. We know that Samoa Joe does work way better as a heel. He's another big guy who can move just ridiculously fast and put on amazing matches. His title feuds with the likes of AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston were quite meaningful. So honestly, yeah, I'd really like to see Samoa Joe versus Drew McIntyre. I feel like it'd be really cool if he didn't come back immediately after his suspension ends, but after Drew McIntyre's defeated, say, AJ Styles or Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe just runs into the ring and chokes him out, puts him in the coquina clutch. And I honestly feel like watching this feud, you'd really start to question, you know, can Drew McIntyre defeat Samoa Joe? I know that Samoa Joe's like lost a lot of world title feuds in the past, but overall, I'd really like to see this feud, and I'd honestly be okay with Samoa Joe being the one to defeat Drew McIntyre in like at least 6 months time. This reign has got to be long, please, for the love of God, WWE. But I would overall just love to see Samoa Joe and Drew McIntyre fight over the world championship. My second to last one on the list is Alistair Black. I don't really see this one happening, but who knows, definitely later in the reign. But these are two just very unstoppable guys who are probably going to have mean streaks, and the two of them just facing off, you know, who can actually pull off the victory here. And if they build Alistair Black up a little bit more up the card over the next few months, I feel like this would be a really, really good world title feud, and I would just love to see Drew McIntyre and Alistair Black just kick the shit out of each other for 20 minutes. Now, the final one on my list is an NXT call-up, and that is none other than Adam Cole, baby. As we know, Adam Cole's been in NXT for a while now. He's the longest reigning NXT champion, and I personally feel like it's only a matter of time before he's going to drop it. I honestly think Velveteen Dream is going to be the guy who beats him, and that it's going to happen relatively soon. So I think Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era should come up to the main roster, or I guess go down to the main roster, because, you know, it's kind of a downgrade. But regardless, there's nothing really left for the Undisputed Era to do in NXT. They've faced pretty much everyone. They've held all the titles. They've done it all down there. It's time for them to come and mix it up with some new opponents. And now if we go back to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn a few years ago, who is it that the Undisputed Era debuted and attacked? Drew McIntyre, right after he won the NXT Championship. So why not have them do the exact same thing, have some long-term storytelling here, and have them attack Drew McIntyre after a title defense, and have us get a real long, proper Adam Cole versus Drew McIntyre feud? I would just personally love to see it. It'd be a great program to call Adam Cole up for and really make him feel important upon arrival. You know, the Undisputed Era's got to come in just guns blazing, take no prisoners. They can't just have like a slow build. These guys have to come in and just jump the gun and be the stars that they were in NXT. Adam Cole's only 30 years old. He's the future of the company. He's going to be a big star. Why not call him up and have him feud with Drew McIntyre? I think we'd all want to see that matchup. We've seen it in NXT, but you know, Drew's obviously a lot different now. Adam Cole's got a lot more hype behind him, and it'd just be a really great program for Adam Cole's call-up. So those are the potential matches I scoured the roster for, and of course, you know, the one call-up there from NXT, Adam Cole. And those are the best opponents I could come up with for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship reign. Obviously, we never know when there's going to be a superstar shakeup. I'm guessing around the same time as the draft last year, but you know, it should be pretty interesting. I'm really excited for one to have Drew McIntyre as world champion. I hope he has a long reign. I hope we get the real fighting champion that we've all been wanting for a while now. If you have any suggestions for Drew McIntyre's potential opponents, drop them in the comments below. I could have very well missed someone out. Let me know which one of these matches you want to see the most. Like the video if you did enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and please guys, let me know what you guys did think about this video format. I really want to make more videos like this in the future. But regardless, I will see you all very soon. Thank you.